All right, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I'm driving a 2009 Mazda 6. Up front is a 3.7 liter V6 and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now we're going to be talking about this a lot later on, but this car has 209,000 miles on it. I know it doesn't look the part, but that's how many miles are on this. It's held up really, really well over those 200,000 miles. And so we'll talk about that towards the end of the video. But let's get back to that 3.7 liter V6. Well, it's a Duratec motor, which is actually a Ford product. You'll find this in the Ford Explorer, the Lincoln MKZ, Mercuries back when they were a thing. It's a very common motor. And that's what's really, really important, is the fact that if anything does go wrong, you have one of the most popular fleet engines in your car. I'll put the horsepower and torque up on the screen. It makes a good amount of power, and honestly, that torque is the big difference. A lot of Mazda products, even now, Mazda doesn't currently make a V6, although they have an inline six planned or whatever, blah, blah, blah. They don't currently make a V6, and that's really what's missing from their lineup, is a torquey engine. This has torque for days. It feels good when you put your foot into it. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but that torque makes you feel like it's fast. And sometimes feeling fast is better than actually going fast, because feeling fast doesn't give you a ticket. Nothing really too crazy here. It's shifting when it should. It's not too loud. It's not too clunky. And honestly, out of a 10-year-old transmission, I can't ask any more than that. And last but not least, the Mazda 6 is front-wheel drive. So let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 main gauges. Now, I love these gauges because they are the exact same as the 2007 Mazda Speed 3, and that's what I learned how to drive stick shift on, so I'm getting a little bit of nostalgia here. But on the far left, I have my fuel, then I have my tachometer, and on the right, I have my speedometer and my coolant temperature. In the center, I get a little readout. Of course, that's where we'll find our odometer, 209,000 miles, outside temperature, and your trip odometer. Very basic. Mazda seemed to really love their orange electronics in the mid-2000s. Pretty much any Mazda product from this era, you're going to have orange. It can be a little bit much, but it's actually not too bad here in the 6. On the steering wheel on the left, I have my phone and volume options as well as skip track. Then I have my cruise control on the right. I like the overall look of the steering wheel. It is pretty dated at this point. However, this is a dated car. It's 10 years old. Of course, it fit well with the 2000s, but here in 2020, it's starting to show its age a little bit. To the left of me, I do have a couple very interesting buttons. I do have info, BSM off, and my traction control off. That's fine. But then I do have headlight levelers. So this is very odd to see in a sedan, is the fact that you can actually auto level the headlights at the flip of a switch. Normally this is for trucks when you're carrying something, or the bed of the truck is weighed down so you don't blind people. You level your headlights so then you're not pissing everyone off in traffic. However, in a sedan, it seems kind of pointless, but it's nice that at least you get that customization. On the door, I just have my power windows, power locks, and power mirrors. In the center, I do get a very nice information screen, which again has the orange LEDs you'll find in the dashboard. It's not my favorite, however, it is giving me a lot of nice information. It's giving me my climate controls, time of day, audio, aux, CD, whatever, and the passenger climate controls. So this actually does have dual zone climate, which is the best if you have a significant other that is always freezing cold and you are always boiling hot. You can actually switch it and adjust it, and it makes life so much easier. It'll save you so many arguments. It's dual zone climate is the best thing for relationships to come out since, I don't know, Rings. And then we have the infotainment system. Now, the infotainment system in this car has been switched out. This is not the factory infotainment. However, there's a couple things that go with this. I would highly recommend switching to a more modern screen. This does have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, things like that. However, as the owner has told me, you can't switch the clock on the information screen. So set it and forget it, and if your battery dies, good luck. You're gonna have to probably wait till noon or midnight to then plug your car back in and get it running again. It's just something you should know. However, I would still recommend upgrading. Mid-2000s radios were kind of here or there. Down below that, we have the climate control buttons. I really like the tactile feedback in the dials. They actually click. They click really well. Mazda's done this, since day one. Their climate controls have been very good in terms of feedback, and I really like the fact that it still carries through in the 2000s. 2018 models are like that. My 1985 RX-7 is like that. I absolutely love those features. Down below that, this is the Grand Touring model, and so I do get heated seats, which is very, very nice. We'll talk about the seats in a second, but this is where my heated seat options are, which is very, very nice, easy to see. You know, the Toyota Prius, they hid the heated seat buttons, which I don't understand. I don't understand why a car manufacturer would hide a feature, but this is right here. You can see it. The only worn part I could really find on this car is the start-stop button. Of course, you're going to hit that every single time that you drive it, especially if you are a person with longer nails or if you have acrylic nails or whatever. These buttons get worn out in every car ever. You can really put a sticker over it and you'll be fine. And then I do have a little 12-volt outlet that's hidden behind a little garage door. The shifter looks like everything out of every Mazda from this era. I'm sure it's just a parts bin part. They probably slapped it and everything. And then I do have two cup holders that hide away and a physical parking brake. I love the physical parking brake. This is a big selling point for me. I really am not a big fan of the little button power parking brake. It seems like a video game and it doesn't really connect to anything. I like feeling that actual physical yank of a parking brake. Now we'll talk about the seats. The seats are leather. They're perforated leather, which is nice. Heated, power, and memory seats. Mazda, you really have to twist their arm. You really have to pay the top price in order to get memory seats. I don't know why. It's like 3 buttons that you put on the seat and it just remembers it. It can't be that expensive to put into a car, but Mazda makes you pay an arm and a leg, so only usually the top trims have the memory seats. And of course, this is the Grand Touring, so it had the top trim. But speaking of seats, we will do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2009 Mazda 6, and honestly, legroom is great. This is my driving position. My knees are not touching the front seat. I can actually sort of stretch out a little bit. I'm 5'11", say that in all my videos, 5'11". Headroom is good, got about 1.5 inches, I want to say, up above my head. Of course, power windows. Something I forgot to mention with the Grand Touring package up front is that I do have Bose audio all around. So Bose audio came in the Grand Touring package. I'd highly recommend seeking that out. I just bought a 2019 Mazda 3 that doesn't have the Bose package, and I really wish it did. So spend a little extra money and get the Bose. But center console here, I do have 2 cup holders. They're sort of rectangle, but that's fine. It's sort of the almost late 90s, early 2000s, big cushiony brick in the center. And the trunk does have a lot of space. I was very genuinely surprised about the space of the trunk, and these seats that I'm sitting in right now do fold down, which is very, very handy. Lots of room in the 6. That's a big advantage over the Mazda 3, is if you have a family, if you know you're going to drive around people, if you can afford it, I would highly recommend this Mazda 6 over the same year Mazda 3. The same year Mazda 3, the back seats are... Now we have to talk about the looks. I'm not the biggest fan of the look of this 6. I think the previous generation looked a little bit cooler, but that's probably because they had the Speed 6, which was like the manual all-wheel drive turbo option. I mean, those are awesome. However, I'm not mad at it. This is sort of Mazda's smiley generation. This sort of kicked it off. The early 2010s Mazda 3s looked like they had the Joker smile on the front, to the point where a lot of people paint them on and you see them all over Facebook and it makes you really sad inside. But this is sort of Mazda's smiley generation. I don't hate it. But the biggest thing, and my final talking point about the Mazda 6, is that this has 209,000 miles on it, and nothing major has gone wrong. Of course, the battery has been swapped out. New tires, which this car has very odd tire sizes, so I would highly recommend switching to a more common size for the rim. Just something to look out for is that if you go to a discount tire, they probably won't have the factory size for you. Just go to a slightly smaller, slightly bigger size. Availability when it comes to tires is the most important thing in my book. While we're talking about the tires, the car from the factory comes with sport tires. I'm not really sure Mazda's reasoning behind this. Mazda has always tried to have a sort of big driver's feel in their sedans, but this is a big sedan. I mean, you don't really need driver's feel. So I would highly recommend switching away from the sport tires. Get better all seasons. It's definitely going to help out the ride quite a bit. But if you look at this car on camera, if I didn't tell you it had 200,000 miles on it, you probably wouldn't have known. Yes, there's a few rock chips on the front and there's a ding in the windshield. But, I mean, that could happen with a 3,000 mile car. This car has held up incredibly, incredibly well. Like I said, nothing major has really gone wrong, knock on wood or whatever. Nothing major has gone wrong with this car. The transmission is original, engine is original, it looks great, it sounds great. I'm sitting right here in traffic and it's not vibrating, it's not trying to lurch forward, the transmission is still holding on. It's overall, really, I would sit in this car and I'd think it maybe had 80, 90,000 miles on it. Really, this car is very, very reliable, and there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, it shares a lot of Ford parts. That Duratec engine, like I said, is a Ford part that's found in the Ford Explorers, which are pretty much our nation's police vehicles. So parts are readily available if something does come up. Also, this car it definitely has a lot of computers in it. It's a modern car, of course it's going to, but that doesn't mean it's hard to work on. You don't need a software degree in order to change the oil. And I think that's a huge benefit for a lot of do-it-yourself people, is that you don't have to download how to change oil.exe in order to work on your car. That I absolutely love. And also, it's basic enough, it's simple enough where it just kind of keeps going. It just kind of floats along. It works when you need it to work. It's not overstretching from the factory. It has mid 200s horsepower, which is perfect for this V6. Could you slap a turbo on it and get probably 500-600 horsepower out of this block? Yes, I've seen it happen. Yes, you can absolutely do that. But of course, at the cost of reliability. Keeping a lower power and a bigger engine, it's just going to last forever. And this car has lasted arguably forever. This is really a testament to the build quality of these late 2000s Mazdas. Going off of the Ford portion of this car, because this has a lot of Ford parts in it, this car was actually assembled here in America at the Flat Rock Assembly Plant up in Michigan. It's like 3.5 hours from where I am right now, which is very interesting. A lot of Mazdas from this era were actually domestically built. That's similar to a lot of people are like, I want a JDM Japanese car, I'll get a Subaru Legacy. Well, they're manufactured over the border in Indiana, so they're not really, I mean, they're Japanese, but they're not Japanese. So this is actually an American-built car. So if that's something important to you, that, you know, some fellow Michigonians, if your fellow Michigonians actually built this vehicle up at the Flat Rock Assembly when Mazda and Ford were still together. A hard breakup later came in 2015, but we won't talk about that. Overall, I'm really impressed with the Mazda 6. Is it going to blow the doors off a Lamborghini at Drag Week? No, it's definitely not. And it's not the most luxurious thing in the world. It's not going to, you know, outshine your neighbor's BMW. However, it's reliable and it's consistent. And honestly, in my life, I've owned a lot of vehicles that are not reliable and not consistent. So this is a luxury vehicle to me. This is something nice. You can get in this car every single morning, turn the key, well, push the button really, and you're gonna be on your way. You're not going to be late and covered in oil because your Miata decided to give up halfway through a drive. Not that I'm speaking from experience, maybe speaking from experience, but this is a reliable, solid car. And so if you could find one of these, even at 100,000 miles, 150,000 miles, with the V6, I would highly recommend the V6 because it has the torque, it has the power, but it's still reliable. If you can find one for a decent deal, I'd highly recommend picking one up. You're not going to have to worry about this car at all. And if something breaks, you walk down the street, you find a Ford Explorer, you pop the hood, and you pull off what you need. Ask first, but you can pull off what you need. That's all I can recommend for this car. I absolutely love it. If you're looking for a used vehicle, start looking at Mazda 6s. If you're looking at Accords and Camrys and whatever Kia was doing during this time, I don't even know what they were making, look at the Mazda 6. I don't think you'll regret it. I think it's really the best of a lot of worlds. It's comfortable enough, it's powerful enough, it's cheap enough, and it's reliable enough that really you can't go wrong with these. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to George for letting me take this car out, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.